Welcome, guys. This is our first Plemya Podcast, and today I would like to introduce you our guest, Taras Kvitka. He is the founder of the studio called Render Bar, which is now Marygold Studio. He is not only the Archviz businessman, he is also as an entrepreneur himself. So he got a lot of experience in the field of architectural visualization. Also, it's Horeca. So please meet our guest, and I hope this conversation will be pretty insightful and interesting. So let's start. Taras, welcome.
Hi Ross. Pleasure to
Hey,
meet you here today.
yeah, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, as usual, you're welcome. You're also glad to see you here. So, today our agenda is more about an Archviz itself, and I would like also to present you as the oldest architectural visualizer that I know myself. Short introduction about yourself in a few words. So,
So I've started doing renderings. I would say probably in 2013. So okay, let's go even more backwards. So I graduated architectural degree back in 2012 or 13, and I didn't know what to do. And back in the day in Ukraine, there was not many jobs in architecture and in 3D
mhm,
either. So I had to look for a job, and of course, I had a lot of ambitions, and I wanted to find something where I could get where I could have a really uh, good growth in years. Because architectural industry, you need to invest really many years before you start making some money there. It
mhm,
is an incredibly competitive industry, uh, where it is so hard to compete and it's so hard to be different. So I was looking for something different from architecture, and I really like to do visuals myself when I was studying in architectural university. So I found a guy who had a portfolio of visuals he had done in V-Ray, and back in the day, it looked like some kind of magic to me, um, because I haven't seen any other guys who could do renderings, and there was no Corona, there was no Enscape or any other real-time engines back in 2013. There was only 3ds Max. There was V-Ray, which was incredibly undeveloped, meaning that it was a really heavy tool with lots of buttons, and you had to know a lot of information in order to start using this tool. And so it was like a pretty challenging thing to do. And I met the guy, and he had this portfolio, so I decided probably he can teach me, so then I can master this occupation and start working as a freelance 3D artist, which again back in 2013 sounded like some kind of a magical turn of events, because everyone who graduated architectural faculty had to like start as the junior architect and then move forward in his career. So I met this guy, and then after I met the guy, like that was, I don't know, like once again it wasn't planned. I had a trip to Poland, where by really interesting like switch of events, I met the guys from Evermotion, and they were doing models and scenes, right? So they asked me if I'm also doing 3D or if I'm capable to do 3D, and I said yes, I can. Of course, I could not, but I knew the guy who could probably teach
mhm,
me. So this is how I got my first, let's say, job offer. So I became a freelancer for Evermotion. I didn't have any like big obligations. My only job was only to create scenes and models for Evermotion. So then I returned back to Ukraine. I asked this guy to teach me, and this is how we started working together. In a half a year, we had a huge beef, and then like we decided to work separately, and I proposed some other my friends to start working together with me, because I wasn't thinking about like building a company, but I knew that together we could do more. and actually grow faster. So that's how we started doing models and scenes again for Evermotion. And in 2 years, we realized that we can do renderings and we can sell renderings. First, we realized that we can sell, like we can do as an outsourcing team for other visualization companies. But then, again, like in a year, we realized that we can work with architects themselves. So, we created a brand called Submarina, and this is how, let's say, our journey started. So I think it was like 2015 or 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty it.
Okay, thanks for sharing your story. So actually, I think the most important moment here that why did you decide to create your studio from very start? Why wouldn't you just became a simple freelancer who work with clients one on one? And why did you decide to scale this fast? So what was your motivation on the very start?
Well, so we didn't have a desire to create a studio, and we actually didn't. I don't know. We didn't treat us in a way that we are studio founders or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. Um, we were just trying to take as much work as possible, and at some point, I realized that the best thing is just to delegate the work rather than to do it yourself. So we never had any ambition of becoming like a big studio or becoming a business. I started being interested in business, I think, in 2019, when probably I left company Submarina. But before that, it was just a matter of delegation, the matter of having more of free time, the matter of just making yourself free in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had a band together with the guys that we have founded Submarina Studio. And my main focus and main like dream back in the day was actually becoming a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
It's playing in a band, playing drums all days long. So 3D was some kind of a side project which allowed me to work as little as I could and to make as much as I could, if it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that was pretty it. And yeah.
Okay, so you are in the field of architectural visualization near, so 12 years, 11, for
Yeah,
how long?
11, I would say, yeah.
Wow, that's great. Because for myself, it's only 6 years and it feels like, whole life. And I can imagine how it feels when it's twice longer. So,
Well, I had breaks, so it was not 11 years in a row. So I had a break in 2020 where I decided to quit CGI, and I made myself a promise to not turn back to 3D. But the COVID happened, and it was kind of a really big thing, which I couldn't expect and I couldn't plan it. So in 2020, I decided to open a restaurant in Lviv, so Western Ukraine, and that was a pretty challenging experience because I would say I had a really good success with doing CGI company even without understanding that I'm doing a CGI company, right? So things were happening eventually with, I would say, no logic. There was lots of mistakes made by me and my partners, but because there was huge demand and little competition, I think we could really survive and even, like, I don't know, grow and yes, and grow our company. So after having this success, I thought probably I'm a really good entrepreneur and I understand how to make businesses. So I decided to open a restaurant without having any knowledge in how to run a restaurant. So I decided to buy a restaurant beforehand. And so I bought the restaurant in 2019, and then I decided to rebuild it into a different brand, to make a different design of the hall and actually to create a different product. And then when I was doing all this reconstruction, the COVID happened, and I had nothing else to do but going back to 3D and start doing CGIs myself again. So, and after a year working in restaurant industry, I realized that 3D was an actually really good job to do, well paid. You can work internationally. You can work with anyone you know. You're not attached to any location, so basically you can change the market anytime you want. You can do films, you can do CGIs, you can do 360s, you can do different type of products, and you're not obligated to work in a, like in a separate market. You can always
Hmm.
change it, right? So that's how I decided to go back to 3D again.
Okay, so what is your advice for those 3D artists who would like to take their first steps in creating their own studio? Because I heard a joke that you should not do it. Like, um,
I think
what
it's not a
advice?
joke. I think it's a good advice.
It's
It's
a good
not a joke.
advice.
No,
Okay.
I mean, look, so for people who want to start something these days, you need to understand like basic things. So first of all, the competition is extremely tough.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I don't see any field, any occupation these days that has no competition. Probably if you work in medicine and if you are a surgeon, then you probably are in a good place. But if you're planning to compete with studios in CGI, you need to be prepared to fight as a dog or as a wolf, because there is too many studios out there. They are doing a great stuff. They have a good networking. They have good prices. So that would be incredibly hard to compete with them. Second thing, you should also be aware of the fact that software is growing so quickly that architects, especially in Europe, are mostly turned to different software rather than working with like visualizers or outsourcing to visualizers. So they prefer to do visuals themselves with Enscape or Twinmotion or any other tool rather than outsource and pay extra money. Third thing is that you need to understand the client and the market pretty well. So you, if I was on your place and I was starting now, you would probably need to have some kind of a budget that you might spend the first 1 or 2 years on simply traveling, meeting clients, or just visiting different events where you could learn more information about how the industry performs, and like, I don't know, probably get some hints and understanding of what clients really need these days. Mm, yes. And third thing is probably you need to be aware that there are so many of online education these days that competition is growing so quickly because of this online knowledge. So you will have to fight not only for the projects and for the clients, but also for the team members, because good people are pricey. It will be hard to take them out of some other studios, and
Mm-hmm.
well, that will be a pretty challenging thing to do.
Okay, so it's a great point. So I would like to add one moment that if you take any field, for example, a graphic design or web design, there is also a really, really great competition, right?
Well, I don't know what's happening there, but I suppose things are pretty similar in any field. So, like, once again, what I see behind this competition is online education. And of course, in the past days, people were studying things in the universities and they could work only after getting some degree,
Mm-hmm.
after studying in universities. Instead, these days, they can go through online education, and especially if we talk about some type of modern industries like CGIs or web design or anything similar, you don't need to get a proper education. You can go through online courses, you can understand how things work, how they perform, you can understand how to sell, you can understand how to build business, you can do it pretty quickly, and you can go into this like competition already pretty well prepared, and this is also what drives the competition. So the thing is that there is too many like education, too many things out there, and it really drives the competition. So that's why I think these new modern industries like design and CGI are getting more and more competitive every day.
Okay, got it. So, you as a founder, as a studio owner, do you see a high demand on the professional architectural visualizers? So, I think there is a large gap between the, let's say, like middles 3D artists and senior 3D artists, which are in demand. So, how do you think the most of like the easiest way for middles become a senior? So on what skills you should um, like um,
Focus on.
focus on, right?
Yeah, so I think middle ground is basically dying, because I mean middle class and middle ground is also dying the first. It also go down the first.
It's sad. Yeah.
I mean, yes. So we like I totally agree with you that like the really senior level artists are in demand, and there is not that many of them. And those are the people with a huge experience and a huge background, with a diverse background, people who can handle multiple things. They can do exteriors, interiors. They could probably even project manage, do some team leading. They could art direct. So they can be like a, how you call it? It's like a
Take your
Swiss
time.
knives in Archviz industry, right?
Hmm.
Like so this is the funny thing is that it's way easier to become a middle 3D artist from junior rather than to become a senior from a middle, because this is how your development is actually looking like. You grow like this, and then you grow like this.
Hmm.
So you can grow up to like 60 or 70% pretty quickly, like in 2 or 3 years. But then to make this difference between 70 and 100, or let's say 95, would be really complicated, because you will need to invest really a lot to get there. You will need to do a lot of projects. You will need to get a lot of experience. You would probably need to work with the top tier studios on the market in order to understand how big projects are being produced. You will probably need to invest in your education and maybe go on some specific like online courses or anything like that. But this difference will come with time. And I know that not many people are ready to invest. And I think
Hmm.
we are living in the world of quick results, right? People want to get everything quickly, as fast as possible. And I think also why we are seeing this gap is also there are too many people who are not ready to invest in becoming a senior level player, right? So yes, and that's why I think like the middle ground is going the first, because there is a demand for really cheap visuals for the price of the price like 500 to probably 1000 per view. And there is also lower, way lower, but there is still a demand for a like a really complicated visuals with a really top tier art direction visuals of 3000 and more of this price. But like I don't know, there is no room for a middle space almost. I know that there are companies who still sell for this price, but I'm thinking that this part of the market is shrinking, and we're not going to see it coming back. Like this is only my perspective, right? This is how I see things.
So this is some kind of evolution, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, you are right. This is some kind of evolution, and people need to understand where they want to be, where they find themselves in years.
Hmm. Got it. So there's also one interesting moment in building a studio. Can you give some advices on the studio owners? What are the like what are mistakes that they usually made when scaling their studios? So there's a lot of studios that 3 people, 5 people, but they are scared on scaling, on taking bigger projects, and how to get rid of these like limits so they can grow.
Well, I would say in creative studios, in the like Archviz industries, the most important thing are the standards, and you cannot grow anything if you don't have standards. So that is the reason behind why so many people cannot grow to like a bigger number, is just because they are doing too many processes themselves. Their product is so different from client to client. They're covering multiple things, and of course it is so hard to scale it. So in order to scale something, you need to have a really transparent process. You need to have a standard, and you need to understand that your product is going to look this way and not in any other way. And you have to understand that you will have to cut the client's desires in order to make, let's say, more feedback rounds or more changes or change more things, etc., etc. Because, or like do something differently because you have the standard, and this is what your company is capable of doing, right? And this is something you can scale, because you cannot scale multifunctional team. It's just simply impossible, because there will be too diverse like offers and suggestions, and it will be too hard to manage it. So in order to scale your business to 20, 50, or 100 people, you need to have a really transparent process. You need to have a very clear product. And this is not only about on how this product looks, but it's also about how you communicate this product. You need to understand why your product is successful. There are so many people who are doing visuals. You need to understand why your visuals are better, how they better, why you think they are better, and how they're going to compete with any other companies. You need to have these standards. You need to have them, I don't know, like written on the wall, so everyone should know it. And every junior position person who enters your office needs to take these rules and to accept them, and to follow them. But so they should be kind of like the basic to the structure of your company. You need to understand who is the client of your product and why he is buying this. And after you build these standards, after you try multiple things or try these standards with multiple clients, and you better understand who is actually your client and how many these type of clients out there, then you can actually scale. Because probably after you understand this information, you realize that, oh, there are probably like 200 clients like I'm looking for, and probably there are two more 100 studios looking for these clients. So
Mhm.
how am I going to compete with them, right? This is also a big question. So that's why this is the main reason, and I feel like there are too many people who, like, some of them has Corona, some of them has V-Ray, some of them has like one 3ds Max, another has different 3ds Max. They have different Photoshop versions, and like they're doing things differently, and you will never scale anything when everyone is doing everything differently. So this is definitely not the way. And if you look at architectural companies, the big companies always have a very strong standards, and they never go aside from the standards they have that have been adjusted years ago. So
Mhm.
I think this is the main thing.
Okay, so the main thing here is the standards. And when building your studio, your own standards became the standards of the company, right? So your company is the reflection of yourself. And
Well, I try to not think so. I try
mhm,
to not think that the Marygold Studio is a reflection of myself. So first of all, I'm not the only shareholder. I have a partner who also has shares in this company, and which, I mean, well, yeah, there is this saying that the company is a reflection of the owner, and it is true in some way, but I try to think that, like, I want to build business where I'm a changeable person, where I can I don't know, leave, and there will be another person who will do my job, and this person will be as good as I, and the company will still exist, and it will grow and it will be successful. So I'm not trying to build it as my reflection. I'm rather trying to build it as a solid, sustainable construction that that is
Hmm.
sustainable. And even if you take out some person, it still exists and still performs well, if it makes sense.
Right. So where will you take your standards in this case? So are you looking for them in the like um, other studios, or like from the studios from the other niches like IT and etc.?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you could get inspiration and knowledge from other companies and other businesses. So, I mean, yeah, I think we should divide these things. So we have the product standards and we have management standards. And what I was referring to was more the product standards, because like the product is really important. So, in order to create a product standards, well, I don't know what you need to have. You need to have a really strong art director or creative director who has a really huge knowledge and experience of understanding the clients. I suppose you can get inspiration from photos of like famous photograph, like architectural photographers, or you can get this inspiration from like older studios. But again, if we like screw back 5 years ago, 2019, you could see that all studios are doing different type of product. There was Tomorrow from Sweden, they were doing one type of product. There was, let's say, D-Box doing another type of product. There was like Boundary doing another type of, Binyan doing, and Plumb doing another. So Mirror, they all were doing different type of product, but you could always recognize this is their image.
Hmm.
Nowadays, instead, everything is looking like all like the same, right? The visuals are looking the same. It sometimes you even feel that probably clients don't need to have anything different, or they're not focused on having like a different product anymore, um, which probably a reality. I don't know. It is hard to say, but still, so if you go back and look at these ancient studios, you will see that they have like very strong standards of their products. So all their visuals are looking the same, or all their films are looking the same, and this is what is important. And it is a really good question how you can like build these standards. And I don't have any reply and any answer on that, rather than invest in a really good creative director, invest in art director, invest in getting the knowledge from the market, invest in talking to your clients, what type of product they are expecting from you, because our standards are coming from our creative director. He's the guy who's been there for a while. He have done lots of things, and I trust his knowledge, so I understand how he can create these standards.
Okay, so that's very interesting and insightful for myself, because I'm in the stage where I'm already as owner of the studio, and this is the stage where you have to figure out what you should do next. And this creating of standards stage is like really challenging, because you don't know um, where uh, you will get, let's say, in a 5 years. So it's pretty intuitive also. So
Yeah, all the time. It's every
mhm.
time it is intuitive, of course, and you have to listen to your inner voice, and there is no any other way. But like once again, how I make business is I need to find one or two or three, at least three successful cases, and then try to understand how many of these clients out there and how many of them are looking for a guy like me, right? So
Mhm.
this is how I'm thinking in order to scale, right? Okay, we have done this, that was successful, we have made this money. Okay, then how many people like that guy is out there? So how many clients there I can find? If I find 10 clients like this, will I be successful? Yes, definitely. Where I have to look for them, that is the question. Then I probably have to do a good research, probably go in the conferences or do a proper research in the internet or talk with lead generators or try to find this information. But like, of course, this is a big challenge because we are in the service business and it is all about the relationship that you build between you and your clients. So
Hmm.
this is how you should think. This is what I believe.
Got it. And what is your advice for, um, you know, maybe young entrepreneurs who would like to work with the big studios? How to land your first big client, and what you shouldn't do in this case if you want to get those clients.
Well, so first of all, like about big clients, you need to be aware that big clients and big names in architecture, they're highly spoiled, meaning that they receive thousands of portfolios every day from people all over the globe asking, let's do a project together. We will
Please.
not charge you any shit. Like, just let's do something together so we can publish and we can tag you. And they understand that, right? It's the same as like, imagine you're starting your podcast career and you want to invite a celebrity who will bring you a lot of audience. So you would probably need to pay to this celebrity, right? If you're a
Yep.
no name, you will probably need to pay to the guy who is famous who can bring you the audience. Same here. That will be stupid if you will propose them money to work with them because you're doing the job, right? And then they need to benefit from this job. So, to be honest, I will not recommend to chase any big studios because you will spend a lot of energy, you will spend a lot of time. You will probably get disappointed of yourself, and you
Hmm.
will probably start thinking that you're a loser, which you are not, definitely. But again, these guys will be looking for people who are desperate, who are talented, who really needs their approval. And I believe this is not something that you want to experience. Believe me, if you go to really to like any big name, they will be looking for a cheap price. They will be draining you with dozens of comments, and probably you will sign a huge NDA, which will never allow you to publish the images without their permission, and this permission probably could never come. So, like my advice, stop thinking about big names. Think about names that you can handle. Think about people that you can serve, and those people will remain happy after your service. And they could share information about you. They will be not like, we don't give a fuck of you, but we will be like, oh, Ross is a cool guy. He did a really decent job for me, and I didn't pay too much for it. I should advise him to my friend Patrick, who's also seeking for this type of I don't know, freelancer or a studio or, of a guy, right? This is how you can actually build something, but not
Hmm.
by chasing big names.
So recently, I've been experiencing some, let's say, inappropriate communication with clients where they like undervalue the price of our work. Did you challenge those clients, and you know, how to stay for yourself in those situations when clients hear the price and they start to push? So, uh, is there any experience you had in those situations, and how to deal with them to get as a winner in those situations?
Well, if you want to be seen as a winner, you need to have a really strong pitch, meaning that you need to have a proof of why your price is is what you have. I don't know what you have. So,
Hmm.
and this proof has to be not something like, well, the market is like this, and we are charging a little bit less than the market or a little bit more than the market, but it has to be a really strong pitch. Why are you asking this money? It's because we're investing this and this amount of time, and this time cost us this money because we work with people who have been 5 years on the market, and this is their price, and there are no any other people who can be cheaper than these people. This is how much they charge. And me, I'm running this business, I'm providing you a service, and I understand that I have to pay these people and they have to go home happy because this is the only way for them to provide you a good service, right? There are no any other way. And if you can confirm that, if you can explain that without emotions, with like a poker face, with a like a solid pitch, then you might win. But again, if the client or anyone else came to like the table of negotiations prepared to decrease like let's say your importance or decrease your job, or to I don't know, to just gaslight you, probably this is not your client, and you have to ask yourself, why are you in this type of situation? Why, like, what are you doing here? Are you so desperate that you have to sit like on this table with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, I don't know.
So in my situation, it was just an ordinary order, but it was not the big one, but let's say the middle order. And I was just acting like a good manager and trying to figure out things, and then just I decided to let's say get rid of the situation by telling that this type of communication is not in our like type of cooperation. So it was a pretty easy goodbye. But for the like guys who were just starting out, they can be tricked in those kind of situation with those kinds of clients, and you just have to feel that you're value person, right? And no matter what, no matter the price, just it's advice for younger me. Feel strong, and everything is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe it's so much about the self-esteem. It's more about understanding your limits and like again understanding your price. And it is not about the self-esteem, but it's also about having a knowledge to explain your service and your values, like the value that you provide to the client. But again, I mean, you don't need to negotiate. If you don't like it, you can always like cancel this call and just leave. It is up to you. I'm against fights, so I'm trying not to get involved in the situation where I have to confirm or to, I don't know, prove my importance, right? So I try to validate like the clients we work with before getting to work. Otherwise, it could be a huge mess.
That's right. So the main advice is just ignore, right?
Well, I would not say that there is some kind of a main advice. Again, like your question is really complicated, and we probably need to look at like every particular case. I don't know. I haven't been on your call. I don't know what was happening there. So what we are talking about is strongly hypothetical. So I cannot give you like a plastic advice which will work for every case. But like again, I think you need to understand your value, and you need to understand like how your price was made of, like what were, I don't know, how you build this price and how you charge, what is your offer. So then you can sit at the table of negotiations having a really strong pitch. Otherwise, you will lose.
That's right. Got it. Also about the clients, should you look for them, let's say, by networking when you're working with clients and after you finish the project with those clients, let's say successful, just ask your clients after this that do they know any people, any architects or developers who would also need your help? And this kind of networking will help free artists get more clients.
Well, I've never done anything like that. What I have done is I have asked them to leave me a review on LinkedIn, or it could be a Trustpilot, or it could be, I don't know, like any other platform where they can leave their reviews. It could be even like Google Business. Mm, I mean, I have never heard in the Western world. So what I call the Western world is probably Europe, United States, Canada, and like Australia and UK. Um, the situations where you could ask the client if he can advise you to someone, probably things like this exist, and probably someone have done that. But what I would do is I would probably try to look for similar clients like the one I'm working with and get to the new one with the pitch like, hi, I work with this guy. He's really similar to you. We have done this. It was a successful case study. He have, I don't know, he have benefited from what we have done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a talk. Let's see if we have a potential, like if we have a potential collaboration opportunity, right? Or not. Or, yeah, I think that would be my way. But probably this type of sales offer probably exists. I don't know.
About an Archviz industry, today I was looking for the videos about Archviz and there was like a lot of titles about Archviz is that. And today we started our meeting from this topic that Archviz is slowly dying. So how do you think? Is this true? Because, every year there are a lot of people that saying that architectural visualization is dying. I gonna break this field. So what do you think about it?
Well, I think why so many people are trying to make this type of statement is because years ago people could make a really good money in this industry. It was a really fresh like industry, fresh blood. There was not many people doing this. There was a lot of cheap money in real estate, in architecture. So people were ready and happy to invest in good visuals. And they believed that it could help them, and it did. They probably somehow succeed from making a really good visuals. So you could really grow really quickly. You could have a really good margin. There were a lot of like local offices, London, New York, I don't know, Los Angeles, Paris, etc., etc. But due to like a really huge competition, due to a really like huge software development, due to the fact that there was also a COVID and post-COVID era with high interest rates, all these things together, if there was only one thing, but all these things together created a completely different environment, which is totally opposite from what we had in 2019 even. And I feel like now it is a game of numbers. Like clients are chasing the better price. They are chasing someone who will do it faster. They're chasing someone who will be more flexible. They're chasing someone who is blah, 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 blah. And, we can go on and on with this. I think what is over is probably like a really good money making in the industry. You still can make money, but there is a limit. And I think some of us even already felt this limit. They already touched this ceiling and they don't know what to do next, right? Because, okay, we have done this and that, but we cannot grow. You cannot grow without a consistent stream of clients and new projects. And because Archviz is a total roller coaster, you have the project this month, another month you don't have projects again, blah, 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 etc., etc. We do not have a long-time contracts. It is not like architecture where you get a project for 3 or 5 years. So you know that you can keep your people busy for 3 or 5 years. No, we are in the projects of, I don't know, of 1 month, probably 2 months.
Yep.
We were successful enough to sign a contract with the client for 3 years. And I think it's a huge success because I never experienced anything like that with the previous company. I have never heard that some companies are signing this type of agreements, right? It is all, you're like a small fish in a big tank, and you're like trying to find even smaller fish than you are, right? So, to eat it and to stay full for, I don't know how many days, like 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, like 2 months, right? So our projects are short. The competition is high. There's a lot of digits in this example. So I think the Archviz is not over, and people will continue looking for visualizers, and like there will be still demand out there. But you need to understand that I think Archviz is now completely relationship type of business, where what you have to focus like the most is actually building the perfect relationship with your client, the trust,
Hmm.
the respect, the consistency. Mm. And I think you need to stop being focused on making big numbers, because it is probably not going to happen. Maybe it will. Maybe you're a lucky guy and you took a really good card. But I think, yes, so I think those are the main reasons why people still think so. So if you want to make big business of 100 people, that will be probably a really tricky game. But if you want to make beautiful images, I don't know, work with nice clients, make decent like salary, that's probably not the dead industry, and you probably could find this.
From your own experience, how do you think, mm, where are the most amounts of the free visualizers to build like a community or to become a part of it? Maybe it's USA, maybe it's Europe. So how do you think?
Hmm. Well, I think because of the lack of opportunities and chances in Archviz, there is less space for communities, and people are just feeling too competitive with each other, so they don't want to share things, they don't want to share secrets, clients, etc., etc. Um, it was way easier years ago, as I said, because there was a feeling that there is so much work out there, and there is so many visual artists at the moment, so people somehow felt exclusive. When I started doing visuals, and I remember our first project in Ukraine where we helped a real estate developer to sell properties, like all units, in almost 3 months. It was extreme success. No one ever experienced anything like that. And I remember the real estate developer was so happy. He invited us for every photo shooting. We kind of became a good friends of them, because it was 2015, and we have made photorealistic visuals for a project, for a residential project in Lviv. They managed to sell it quickly, and it was mind blowing, right? There was no type of this practice of doing really good visuals back in the day in Ukraine, and we felt so exclusive. Every time we went on the architectural parties, people were saying like, "Hi, hello, you are the guys who did these visuals," right? So that, now it is so hard to amaze people by these visuals. Too many people are doing these visuals, are similar. It is so hard to differentiate yourself. It's hard to create a new positioning. So, and I think it also creates this big, clash between artists and communities, because they are so much afraid of losing clients, or someone will know my secrets, I will try to keep silent, etc., etc. I think most of the artists are these days, most of the artists are in China, and I think this is the place where you probably will find so many artists that you cannot even imagine. And I think these artists never visit anything. They never go on any events. They never talk. And the Archviz is a nerdy thing. It's the industry where you have to sit a lot in front of the computer, and probably not talk that much. So yes, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question on how you can find the best networking. Probably you'll find different networking in any part of the world.
We should looking for people online, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on why you're looking for this networking. Are you looking for this networking to what? To do what? To just understand how other businesses performs, or to get know some secrets, or what's the reason? I mean,
Hmm.
there are still big conferences like D2. There's World Wiz Fest in Poland. Um, there is 3D London. There is 3D New York. There is State of Art Academy. I don't know if they're still running events, but probably there are still things happening out there. But I think there is less and less demand on that again because things are changing.
Okay, thanks. So here are the last two questions. So the first one is, what or who inspires you? Like,
Well, I don't have anyone who brings me some kind of inspiration, or I don't know who is the reference for myself. I don't know. I probably try to read things and try to understand, like, so okay, the reason why I'm not that much into inspiration by some other people is that probably I finally realized that each success has its own secret, and you could never repeat anyone's success. So I don't find interesting to read books about, I don't know, Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, or I don't find these people way different from us, right? They were there when things were happening. They could get a really good card. They could play this card. They had the opportunities. They just played the opportunities they got, right?
hmm
There is nothing behind learning about their success. And I simply don't find it interesting. Maybe they were giving like some specific advices, but they are not giving any specific. I mean, I have never heard anything new or anything like, wow, oh my God, it changed my life from them. It's all same things, right? Like everyone's looking for opportunities. You just need to keep pushing, and then you will like get a card one day, a good chance. You need to play this chance. Then you'll probably definitely succeed. But I don't think that, we are so important. I don't think that all and everything depends on us. It is like a huge game where we are small pieces, and like each of us is trying to make
to
as much
fit.
as he can, right? Exactly, to fit. So I don't find any inspiration from any other people, and I'm sorry.
Okay, got it. And the last question on how to stay focused, because you succeed in building a couple of studios, companies, and how to stay focused.
Well, I think my personal success comes from a huge obsession. So I don't think I'm a good reference. I was following a really bad life balance for many, many years, where I put my job and my career success on the first stage. And now when I'm 32, I don't think uh, it's a good formula to become successful anymore. Although I believe we are now living in the world of success, where you have to be more and more successful, you have to be better, you have to compare yourself to others, right? You can, you're asking about the references, about inspiration, blah, blah, blah. So if you somehow could stop comparing yourself to anyone else, to others, I think that's the most successful thing that you can do. If you start thinking more about yourself, your capabilities, your talents, how you can monetize your talents. Can you actually monetize your talents? Do you see opportunities now to monetize your talents? Because sometimes we have years with no opportunities. and we can push ourselves as hard as possible, but this is not the way to create opportunities. And I don't, like, there is all this saying like you need to create the opportunities, but how? I mean, okay, go to New York, go to London, right? Okay, probably you will create some opportunities. Of course, you have to do something for it, but you don't need to sacrifice everything. And I did sacrifice a lot of things in the past, which I don't want to do anymore. So now I'm like, my goal in life is actually to keep a life balance, and not to get obsessed of creating any number or any picture that I used to have in my brain years ago, or getting some inspiration of some figure in Instagram who has, I don't know, thousands of followers and gets a lot of recognition from the audiences. I don't give a fuck. um, I try to be myself, and the secret to staying focused is, I don't know, is probably to realizing your dreams, but this has to be your dream, but not anyone else's dream, if it makes sense.
Okay, so maybe there are some, inspirational words for those who only start or who stuck in the process.
Well, no inspiration. I think everything good will come. So don't worry. Just relax. Go get yourself a beer, or a coffee, or a good walk, or meet your girlfriend or wife or kid. Enjoy time on the nature, and don't think that so many things depends on you. You're only a small piece in this huge world.
Sounds pretty inspirational. Okay, thank you, Taras, for your time. It was really a pleasure and so insightful conversation. So thank you again, and see you next time.